Brothers and sisters in Christ, there isn't a priest alive who hasn't found himself preaching what may be one of his better homilies, only to have a baby suddenly scream, a bored child get up and walk down the center aisle to the bathroom, a cell phone go off, or a kind parishioner loudly rip a check from his or her checkbook. The unexpected noise is just enough to break the concentration, not only of the priest, but of those who were, up until that point, listening. The point is, it takes only a moment for heads to turn, thoughts to change, and suddenly you realize you've lost them. And the frustration is knowing that once you've lost them, you don't always get them back. It's an interruption. And I hate interruptions. I hate them en masse. I despise them when I'm digging into a project at my desk. I'm especially bothered by interruptions when I'm standing next to a hospital bed in the middle of an important conversation. I just don't like interruptions. But I wonder if sometimes interruptions aren't just the thing we need to redirect our attention to where it actually needs to be. I wonder if sometimes interruptions aren't actually the hidden work of God. I mention interruptions today because this Sunday is called Gaudete Sunday, and that word gaudete means rejoice. It's the opening word of the entrance antiphon for today's Mass. You see, in the past, Advent wasn't really a time thought of as rejoicing, but rather was more of a penitential season. The clergy still wear purple vestments throughout Advent, a penitential color, but the atmosphere, the tone of the season was definitely more somber and focused more on remorse for sin than anything else. But the church decided that in the middle of it all, we need an interruption. We need to be reminded of what we're preparing for, the very joyful occasion of our God taking on human flesh and dwelling among us, and more importantly, His return at the fullness of time. And so in the midst of all of our penance and fasting, the third Sunday of Advent was always seen as a brief opening of a window, letting some light and joy in anticipation of what was yet to come. On this day, the purple penitential color is replaced with rose, and of course, we can all spot that rose or pink candle on the Advent wreath. 2,000 years ago, right about now, there was another interruption. Just as the world had grown very comfortable without having heard a prophet's voice for 400 years, a man named John appeared and interrupted the comfortable religious slumber of many. And just as an interruption can turn things upside down, John the Baptist calls us today to interrupt the patterns of our lives that keep us from embracing the coming King. You know, too, John speaks of a coming kingdom where things are indeed upside down, a world where the poor and hungry are fed, where the brokenhearted are healed, where captives know freedom. Perhaps the question for us is whether or not we really want our world interrupted, whether or not we really want our world upside down. Because when you think about it, we have to ask ourselves, which side of an upside-down world will we find ourselves? Are we the poor who will have the good news of reversal, or are we the ones responsible for others' poverty? Are we the brokenhearted who will be healed, or have we broken hearts? Are we the unjustly held captives who will finally know freedom, or are we the captors who have trapped others in unjust situations? Again, Advent is not primarily a penitential season, but it can still be a time to search our hearts, to discover where we may still need to turn a few things upside down in our lives, if we are one day to greet the coming King. And so for today, Gaudete, rejoice, your Lord draws near, but in the midst of our religious reverie, let us hear the words of John. And if those words hold meaning for us, then we shouldn't even try to fight his holy interruption.